This is a review of the notes on section 2.9, percents. When dealing with percents, there's typically three basic types of problems. You either have to find the percent. For example, if it said something like, what percent of 6.3 is 3.5? There's problems where you have to find a part. So it says something like, what is 32% of 125? And so you'll notice here we're given the percentage, and we're given an amount that it's out of, but we don't know the part. The third kind is where you'll have to find the base, or like what everything is out of. So 25%, like they'll give us the 25% of what number. We don't know what number it is, but we know that part is 11. So those are the three basic types of percent problems that we'll see. The two ways to solve or represent percents are with proportions, which you'll see right here. And again, we covered proportions earlier in section 2.7. That's when we have one fraction equal to another. And equations. And again, equations we've been doing all unit long. You'll notice in both of these that the different numbers from the problem are included in different ways. I'd like you to pause the video and see if you can find any similarities between all of the proportions and any similarities between all of the equations. Hopefully you notice that with percents, the one of the proportions is always out of 100. And hopefully you noticed in the equations, we always have the percent times one number on one side of the equation, and then kind of an answer or a number on the other side. Okay, so now we'll explore and kind of use what we know so far to solve a couple percent problems. The first way, and the practice I'd like you to write in here, this is called using proportions. And proportions are extremely helpful for solving percent problems. I'm going to zoom in and explore a little more, but the percent proportion is over of equals percent out of 100. You can also think of this as the part over the whole, or the part of the whole is equal to the percent out of 100. All right, so it says what percent is 56 of 56 is 42. So first off, we know 56 is the of, or the whole, and 42 is the is, or the part. Okay. After that, okay, we know we have to find the percent, because the percent is not given to us. All right. So in every problem, we'll have to identify the part, the whole, and the percent, or the is, the of, and the percent. So again, our formula is over of equals percent out of 100. So if we filled in information here, we would have 42 out of 56 equals x out of 100, because we don't know the percent. I'm going to show my work over here, so then we can cross multiply, and we'll end up with 4,200 equals 56x, and we can divide both sides by 56. Take a second to do that on your own, and decide what is your answer as a percent. All right, and hopefully you ended up with 75 and wrote in percent. When you use the proportions formula, your answer is a percent. And we'll talk about why that's important in just a little bit. All right, so for our next problem, we have 125%, so we are given the percent of what number? So we can say the x is the of, we don't know, is 17.5. So we know 17.5 is the is, or the part. So to fill in our proportion, we're going to have, again, the part over the whole. So in this case, that will be 17.5 over x equals our percent, so 125 over 100. Okay, from there we can multiply. Okay, and so we'll have 17.5 times 100 gives us 1,750 equals 125x. And then we'll divide both sides by 125. And we get x equals 14. All right, so we'll know our final answer is 14. This one is not a percent, it's just a number, right? Because we're solving for the number that was the original amount. You'll notice that 14 is smaller than the is, and that makes sense because we were looking for 125%. So in this case, the part actually ends up being bigger than the whole. For our third problem, we have 10 is, so again, we know 10 is going to be the is, or the part. 15 is going to be our percent of what number is our variable. So go ahead and pause it, try it on your own, and then you can look back and see if you got it correct. All right, and hopefully you ended up with 66.6 repeating, which we know is 66 and 2/3. Okay, it is important to use a repeating decimal if you wrote it as a decimal.